Hello and welcome to Module 15, Network Monitoring and Tools. All right, so in this chapter we are going to cover, the network monitoring tools that are being used. So we'll discuss all of them, and then we'll go back and discuss in a little bit more detail about you'll remember in the beginning of the semester about the SOC, the SIEM, and the SOAR, and how they can be used to detect attacks. All right, to monitor the system, you got to be able to use or protect the network, not only monitor the network. You can use firewalls, intrusion prevention systems, IDSs, IPSs, intrusion detection system as well. So all of these have to be used to protect and to give you alerts if there is attack or not, and to keep track of all the different types of data that's flowing in and out of your network. All right, so you may use tools such as IDS, packet analyzers, the simple network management protocol, Netflow, and so on. All right, so here is how do you capture all this data to monitor and analyze it. So please write these two down. There are two common methods. You can either use the network taps or you can use the SPAN, the switch port analyzers, and we'll discuss each one of those separately. So please write the first two bullet points for network taps. So a network tap primarily is to capture data that's flowing between two different devices. So let's say all the data that goes in through the firewall, it goes through the network tap, and the network tap will send it to a device that monitors the data. Okay, so, and then you can send it in if you want to later on. So this is a device that really sits between two devices. So typically you want to put it before you send the data through the internal network, okay, before the router. All right, on the other hand, you may have a SPAN, a switch port analyzer. This is a little bit more used if you have an IDS system, an intrusion detection system. So please take a picture of this because we will discuss what the ingress, the degress, and the egress traffic is, what the SPAN, the source port, and the destination port. So here's a typical SPAN. Let's say SPAN IDS system. So what you do is you connect it to a switch, and on this port you make it a mirror port, this port G01, and that will be the destination port. So all the data that's being sent on the switch will also send it to G01. Okay, so that the intrusion detection sensor will detect to see if there's any traffic, and then the IDS system can either send it to the management, or the IDS can connect to the firewall to either tell the firewall to stop the incoming traffic because it looks like it's an attack. You also have to specify which ports are the source spans, which means all data that's coming from this port 01 or 02 have to be sent to the destination as well. Even though, let's say, this one is sending the data to this PC, this is an ingress, means you're sending the data, you send it to the egress traffic, right? And you also send it to the destination as well, so it can be analyzed. So G01 is sometimes called a mirrored port, or we call it a SPAN, switch port analyzer. This port is get a copy of the data that's going through the switch so it can be analyzed by an IDS system. All right, so now let's take a look at the tools that we may use. We can use Protocol Analyzer, Netflow, or the SIEM. In this semester, we're going to be using more of the SIEM to analyze the data. Towards the end of the semester, we'll have more labs on using specifically the Onion to analyze the traffic. Anyway, so the common tools that are being used are Protocol Analyzer, the Wireshark. I think you should be familiar with this, if I'm not mistaken. or TCP dump. We'll use Cisco proprietary Netflow. You can use that as well to monitor the traffic, or you can use the Cisco information and event management. Same. Some network administrator may use the simple network management protocol to gather data from devices. We discussed that in the CCNA course, and I think earlier this semester, where you gather information from all the devices and it can be analyzed. But using any combination of these or all of them are very helpful in detecting if there is any loopholes and watching the data where it's coming in and coming out, and specifically trying to capture if there's any vulnerabilities in the network. That's, for example, where you use the protocol analyzer. The reason you want to use a protocol analyzer such as Wireshark is being able to see all the packet, all the way up to layer, even up the application layer. Sometimes you can capture the data, and if it's in clear text, you'll be able to follow the stream and pinpoint where the problem, what the data is. You can actually see if what the passwords are, for example, right? See, they're called packet sniffers, the Wireshark and TCP dump. All right, so here's something that we are going to use. Please write this down. The first bullet points. Wireshark, when it captures the data, it saves them in files called PCAPs. So when you get a PCAP file, you're going to be able to take it and analyze it. Okay, so if I say in class, let's go analyze this several PCAP files, you'll know what I'm talking about. These files came from Wireshark, and you can analyze them. Here's a typical also example of TCP dump capture ping commands. You have to write commands in the on the Linux devices, machines. Wireshark is a GUI tool that you can use on a Windows-based, right? So that's why a lot of people like to use Wireshark. Although WinDump is something similar to TCP dump, right? That's the version of TCP dump. And Tshark is a Wireshark command that is used similar to TCP dump. Anyway, Netflow. So please write the first 2 bullet points. Write all 4 bullet points. I was going to ask you to write the first 3 bullet points. But Netflow is a Cisco proprietary software that it can monitor all the data flow in your network. Okay, and will give you data, but you have to be able to analyze that data. You have to go there and watch to see if there's any inconsistency, any anomaly that is in the traffic that is being loading. So there are a lot of software that will take the data from Netflow and analyze it. All right, such as, please write this down, the bottom here, Cisco StealthWatch is the one that will take the Netflow data statistics and analyze it for you. It can actually do flow stitching. It can group individual entries together. It will filter duplicate incoming entries, and it will do NAT stitching. It will simplify the flow with NAT as well. So if you're using Netflow, you probably want to use StealthWatch also to analyze the data that's coming from Netflow. All right, now we get to SIEM and SOAR. We know we discussed this earlier in the semester, but let's do this again. SIEM is really a technology, any type of software. Please write this down and write all of this down. In fact, so it's a technology that used in an enterprise organizations to give you real-time reporting about everything almost. So if you have a SIEM software, it will give you forensic analysis. It will search logs, events, records, sources, you name it. It would do correlation, examine these logs and events from different system and applications to speed up the detection. Aggregation, it will reduce the volume of data that's being collected, get rid of anything that is duplicate, and it will present all the data to you in real time. But it doesn't tell you, it just gathers information and gives you a lot of good information to the point. But if you need to figure out where the problem is, so again, write the first 3 bullet points here for SIEM. So SIEM, again, is a software that gathers a lot of cybersecurity information for you. Provides details on what the source, this is important. It will give the source username, authentication status, location, his MAC address, what operating system they're using, and all of that information, right? The posture, such as compliance of the device to the security policy if you had one. Is there any updated antivirus program? Is there operating system patches? It gives you all that information about the source and the activity. Now the SOAR, please write these down. The security orchestration, automation, and response will enhance the SIEM. Takes that information, right? The first 2 bullet points again. It will help the security team to investigate and use the information that is given by SIEM to figure out what the problem is, right? To pinpoint where the solution, what you can do. So again, right at this point, the solution provides case management tools to allow cybersecurity personnel to research, investigate incident frequency, and so on. It will use artificial intelligence to use that information that's given by SIEM to analyze and respond to. So SOAR, it will use the information that's given by SIEM to come up with a solution. That's what you are in the Security Operations Center, the SOC, is going to be using. And that can take an extensive amount of time. You could analyze the data yourself that's given by SIEM. But you want to use SOAR to be able to analyze it. It will help you analyze the data and respond much quicker, right? All right, so SIEM systems. There are several SIEM systems. There is the security onions, which we'll be using later on this semester. There includes the ELK suite. Please write these down. The ELK will stand for ELC, the Elasticsearch, the Logic and Kibana. So Elasticsearch, document full oriented text of the search engine. Logstat is the pipeline processing the system that connects all the inputs and the outputs. And the Kibana, browser-based analysis and search dashboard of Elasticsearch. So SolarWinds, for example, is an event manager, and Splunk Enterprise Secure are 2 popular proprietary SIEM systems used by the SOCs. Please write this down too, the note, the SolarWinds and the Splunk, because you might be exposed to this when you're out in the field. And so what can we use as a good SIEM system? So you may suggest SolarWinds, a security event, or Splunk. And they are huge. All right, and that's it. Believe it or not, this chapter was quick, so please write down whatever I asked you to and submit them, and I will see you in module